I started playing in a ska band when I was 15 in high school, and through the end of high school, I had toured up and down the East Coast a couple times. I played on the Warped Tour. That was really the beginning of my musical career, I think, because I was playing a night or two a week, pretty much every weekend, all through high school, at bars usually. Which now, if I saw a 15-year-old kid at a bar playing music, I'd be like, get that kid out of here. My name is John Sipher, and I'm principal trombone with the Colorado Symphony. Most musicians have quite a large identity with their own instruments. From a very early age, being in band class, you see people say, I'm a trumpet player, and I'm a trombone player, or I'm a flute player. Whether or not that's too self-imposed too early on, but yes, I have been a trombone player since I was 9. I first came to the trombone when I was in 3rd or 4th grade by attending my older sister's middle school band concerts. And I would see her on stage and everybody else on stage, and everybody else seemed to be pushing down buttons or valves. And the trombones in the back with their shiny slidey things seemed to be doing something different than anybody else. And I wasn't interested in doing what everybody else was doing, so I was interested in the shiny slidey things. The first thing I love about the instrument is just the quality of sound. I think it's incredibly resonant. Most people think about the trombone, especially in the orchestral context, and it's very loud and brassy, but I think it's capable of such more beautiful, sweet melodies than are written for us often. I'm a natural tenor myself, so the range of the trombone fits my personal voice very closely. And with the inclusion of the slide on the trombone, it's capable of much more inflection, like the human voice can, with kind of dips and glisses into notes. Secondly, I think the trombone is one of the most versatile instruments in the entire orchestra. You'll find trombone in classical music, band music, jazz, funk, rock and roll. I grew up playing in a ska band. I've been essentially playing on the same horn since I was in high school. And recently I found this exact same version of my old horn, but it's just the differences on the factory line. There's just a couple notes that resonate a little bit better than my old horn. So it's only like a 1% maybe increase than my old horn. But yeah, I've been basically playing on the same horn though since I was in high school. Practicing fundamentals is the largest job that most musicians have, at least for me as a brass player. If I had a perfect day of practicing, probably at least an hour and a half or 2 hours would just be working on fundamentals, things like long tones or lip slurs or articulations, because that's the only way we can really practice our craft. We don't practice music to work on our technique. We practice our technique so we can work on our music. So for me, it's just a lot of fundamentals and scales and long tones. Our ideal mission is that we present music in its highest form, classical music. So what that means is, hopefully, I think the goal of any artist, any artistic musician, is to pursue the impossible, the perfect phrase, the perfect note, the perfect melody. So that ideally comes from the conductor to begin with, then it goes down to the concert master, then it spreads out through the other families of instruments, the percussion, the woodwinds, the brass. So I get my then directions from the principal trumpet, and then I take that message and interpret it in my own sort of way, put my own spin on it, and then I pass it on down to the rest of the low brass section. So hopefully if I'm doing my job well, then I'm presenting the message in a very clear and concise way so there's no doubt about what the idea or the message is. And with live music especially, anything can happen. If you came to our concerts Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, every performance would be a little bit different because of the musicians on stage, what we ate for breakfast that morning, and I think that's such an exciting part about live music particularly. Well, I look up to lots of my colleagues within the orchestra. And that just comes from how they play every day, how I see them practicing and preparing, how I see and hear them play their solos on stage. I get a lot of inspiration from my colleagues just musically and from their work ethics. Until I moved to Colorado, I hadn't been anywhere longer than 2 years at a time since high school. So one of the nice things about getting tenure in a place like the Colorado Symphony is that kind of frees me up to pursue other projects that I might be interested in. So one of the big things for me recently has been doing more composition. And so I've been writing pieces for trombone and a loop pedal, which has been getting some good reception, and it's been very encouraging, and I've had a lot of fun doing that. And I think the more kind of angles that we can approach music from. As an educator, and I think most of the musicians within the orchestra teach on some sort of level, whether it's private or at a university level, we impact collectively hundreds of students that will hopefully be the next generation of performers themselves, or music appreciators, or they'll take that kind of discipline and apply it to whatever they choose later on in life. In order to teach the students, I have to really think through my process, and again, in a very clear and concise way. So if anything, it challenges my own kind of ideas on how to play the trombone and play music, and it makes me clarify my own ideas so then I can present it to a student. So that makes my own process that much stronger. I tell my students auditions are like being a door-to-door salesman. You have to keep knocking on the doors. If you don't knock on the door's never going to open up. Some doors might not open, but you never know which one's going to open up. So most people lose more auditions than they take. But if you just keep knocking on those doors, hopefully one's going to open and it's going to be a good fit. I think symphonic music is important today because we live in such a fast-paced society with the internet. Everything is digital. Everything is always new, and old is not good. And I think classical music offers these moments of just living within a moment of beauty, like watching a sunrise or climbing a mountain or going to an art gallery and staring into a painting. And I think that is missing in society, and I think that's what we can really offer to the culture, is just being in the moment and enjoying the beauty of a sound. We're used to hearing symphonies on the big screen as soundtracks for these epic superhero movies or whatever. But when you're actually in the concert hall, hearing those 80 musicians blasting away at you, and you're totally immersed in the sound, I think that's an experience that just can't be replicated through recordings or through streaming music. I think all music is valid. I mean, and when I listen to death metal or bluegrass or hip hop or country, it all kind of filters through my perspective, and it eventually finds its way through my horn, all of that music. So I think just be curious, and don't be afraid to kind of go down the rabbit hole of checking out others' music. And it's so easy these days with all the streaming music. It's so much easier to check out music than it ever has been. My legacy with my time in the Colorado Symphony. Well, I mean, I hope to make some sort of an impact on the trombone community in Denver and the larger Colorado area through hopefully people attending my concerts and hearing me play, and also through the students that I teach. I mean, the best that we can all do is just keep pursuing the craft, keep reaching for the perfect sound, which I don't think is ever going to be achieved, but as long as we keep trying for it, I think that resonates with other people. Advice for a 15-year-old playing in a bar. I don't know, but yeah, I would love to see more young musicians getting out there and playing more often, getting more exposure to music. When I was that same age in high school, my best friend and I would go downtown every weekend, and we'd put our cases out on the sidewalk and we'd busk. And I don't see that many kids doing that these days. Maybe I was just a weird one, but that was kind of a big experience for me.